It's the Empowerment Perspective Podcast, hosted by Demiso Josie and Mr. Kareem Spence. Stay empowered.
All right, welcome to yet another edition of the Empowerment Perspective Podcast. I go by the name of Dr. Demiso A. Josie, and I'm flying solo on this. Mr. Petty might pop in. I don't know what he's doing. He's always moving and shaking. We're recording a special edition tonight with a friend to the room, Dr. Stephanie Igelasias. Welcome to our show. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you having me on in this special edition.
Absolutely. So, like always, I troll social media. I look for good things and positive things happening, and I stumbled across something because I haven't heard from you in a while on social media front. But then something popped up, and I said, we did some work before. We'll talk about that in a second. The little thing for Black History Month that I did, but we had talked before, and I was like, I wonder what she was doing. But then this popped up, and I think it was perfect timing for this special edition because on the previous podcast we did talk about radical empathy and how we can divide bring the racial divide together. So that was on our previous podcast. So I kind of felt like this was the right time for this particular episode to come through. So for the people who don't know you or who you are, because you were on a podcast before, this was years ago. I think it was like season 2 or something like that. But explain who you are and kind of what you do.
Okay. So my name is Dr. Stephanie Igelasias. I am a therapist, psychologist. I am an author. I have about 4 books. I'm actually coming out with another one with another 32 other women that will be dropping at the end of the month, which nobody even knows that. I have kept that kind of on the hush hush. I'm a creator of various different programs. I have the Inside Out experience, which is a art therapy program for women and their daughters to try to build their relationships. And I'm also a motivational speaker. I mean, I do a little bit of everything. But most recently, I think, and also part of the community. I do a lot of outreach and activism and trying to work on equality and inclusion. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I'm really kind of using my voice for at this point.
So here at the Empowerment Perspective Group, we're big on the why. Like, why even get into this work? Like, what drew you to this particular area?
So for me, I'm raising 2 young Black men. I am Puerto Rican. I am a minority, but I'm raising 2 Black men. And the way the world is today, it's scary out there. I don't know if my children are going to leave my house and come back home. I don't know if I'm going to get the call, say, hey, your son was shot. There's too much of Black men being killed out in the world. And that's really my why, is I'm raising 2 young Black men, and I have to make sure that they're safe. I have to make sure that they know laws. I have to make sure they're very educated. I have to make sure that they're able to assimilate to all races, unfortunately. Even though they are Black men, they have to learn how to maneuver themselves around people, because this world is not for the minorities.
I was going to ask you that because you live in a community that you grew up in. Like, how was your experience different than what you're seeing your kids go through? Was it a big difference?
I think growing up there was always some sort of racism or discrimination. I think it was just not. I don't think it was talked about as much as it is now. Even learning in history classes, there wasn't really that much Black history, right, to be honest with you. Yes, there was probably Black History Club, but there really wasn't anything. I can remember, and you probably remember in school, that there was riots in school, Blacks against whites. I remember all that. Yes, so there was stuff going on, but it was always like a hush hush, and it's still a hush hush. But the thing is, now with all this George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all these young men and women that are dying, it's coming to our forefront where, hey, here's the momentum, here's our chance, we have a voice, let's speak our mind, let's do what we have to do and keep it moving forward. We need to gain the momentum and keep going.
Right. So let's go back, right? So you mentioned George Floyd, and our neighborhood that we grew up in, that you live in, some of the students had organized a march about almost a year ago at this point, and an unfortunate incident happened at that particular march where there's, I guess, some anti-demonstrators, I'm going to use the word, and depicted the scene on the side of the road. It made national news, and here we are in this small town of Franklinville making actually international news. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Walk me through how you felt when you saw that, knowing that was right down the street from, you passed that spot probably a million times.
I personally felt like, first of all, it was horrible. It was a horrible act. But I'm in the back of my mind, I said, we all knew this was here. We all knew this was here. Finally, somebody, and I'm going to keep it real, somebody was ballsy enough to do it in front of all of us. They had the nerve to do that and think there was going to be no repercussions. Because that's the problem with this town. There's no repercussions. You do something and it's just swept under the rug. And I say that because I recently, myself and my fiance, my youngest son, became a victim of it with the school system. And it's sad because I am a Puerto Rican woman, but I'm not a Black woman.
Right.
A Puerto Rican woman and a Black woman is two different things. Even though we're minorities, but I've never endured what a Black woman had felt like until that day. And I said, you know what? I can't imagine feeling what I feel to endure that day in and day out, day in and day out. You get to the point where you're fed up. Right. You get to the point where enough is enough. You get to a point like, what do? I'm tired of it. And this is why I'm probably being very emotional and, my voice and my hands is because deep in myself, that's wrong. It's wrong. I am very big, and I've always been very big on what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. And there shouldn't be, regardless of color, regardless of sex, regardless of your position. If you did something wrong, there is a consequence to it. And it shouldn't matter.
So, I mean, for me, when I saw the situation, pretty much like you said, like growing up where we grew up, I was like, I knew who the person was. I knew exactly what happened. And I was like, this is typical. Like, this is nothing. And it's a shame that, as a young Black male going through that system, that was a norm, right? So the question I have for you is, how do we fix it? Like, how do we get to a place where at least, I'm not even going to say that it's going to be better, but at least that is recognized as being wrong. How do we get to that, please?
To be honest with you, this is going to be a process, but we have to confront it. If you don't confront something, it's going to continue like nothing is wrong. We have to confront the actions, the reactions, and call them out. We really do. And there's always a way to do that. You can do that in a professional way. You don't have to tear something down. You don't have to do something really crazy. There's a way to do that. We have to start with these real conversations that hurt, that are uncomfortable.
Let's go there, because we have the large portion of our audience are educators, and a lot of them don't know how to have that conversation. As a parent, how would you want your child to be in a school to have those difficult conversations? Like, how do educators go about having that conversation about something they're not, one, comfortable with, and two, may not even know how to address it?
To have that with students? I honestly think you have to be honest. You have to show your vulnerabilities. As they always tell you, don't tell your business, or they'll tell things like, as a therapist, you're not supposed to give them any information about yourself. But to be honest with you, that's wrong. In order to really get to somebody's core, you have to be vulnerable. You have to gain somebody's trust. You have to give a little of yourself to get a little from somebody. And as a teacher, as a social worker in a school, as a principal, you really have to get down to their level. Some of these people are just repeating the cycle of what they learned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about taking what they learned and say, listen, you learned this way, I learned that way. Where do we have similarities and where do we have differences? And where can we meet in the middle?
Right.
And it's really taking things apart. It's really basic 101. It's going down to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it comes down to.
I think too, I mean, not to put all the onus on the educator, but I also feel like the onus also could be on the students to, one, voice their opinion and tell their truth. It's interesting because the way that I grew up and the way that our culture kind of grew up, we kind of just kept to ourselves. We kind of ate whatever it is that was bothering us because it was kind of like nothing's going to change anyway. But these young people also have to feel like they have a voice, number one, and two, be able to have the strength to exercise that voice. And as parents, I think it's important for us to teach our children that they need to advocate for themselves if they feel uncomfortable. Even though at the end of the day, I don't think that it's going to fix itself. I mean, I was vocal when I was in high school. I said some of the same things that was going on, and nothing has changed. So it takes educators to listen to that, but also it takes students to be brave enough to kind of push back as well. Another thing that I go around preaching, and I said this on the previous podcast, is that if we want to see change, we got to be a part of the change. So these young people have to be in education. They got to be in the political spaces. They got to be in law enforcement, places where we can affect change. We can talk about the problem all we want, but unless you're a part of the game, it'll never ever change. Mr. Spence, you there?
I'm trying to be here, man. It's rough out here. I'm sitting in the parking lot.
It's all good. You doing good though?
Yeah, I can't complain. I mean, it was a good day. 80 degrees outside, so just enjoying the day. That's about it.
You got you.
How things when you're in? Everything's good?
Everything is everything. I'm breathing in here, so tired, but it's typical stuff. But what we're talking about is the same topic that we kind of talked about with radical empathy and how educators can have these conversations, these difficult conversations with students. But I want to go back because I had Stephanie talk about her experience watching the incident in Franklinville with the George Floyd thing. Now, me and you, we marched out there on the second one. When you saw video footage of the first, which actually prompted the second one, what was your feelings and your take on that incident?
It was a couple of emotions that I went through. One, I felt a lot of disrespect, and the other, I felt embarrassment for the community. I felt anger that someone would even attempt to portray something as heinous as that. And just like in today's time, we would think that he would just know better. Like after all we've been through 60s and all the civil rights, and you would think that by now in this particular time period that we would just know better just from dealing with and being able to sit back and read and understand all the emotional pain that came through of what this country has done to people. Like, there's just no sympathy or empathy at all. Like, people just don't seem to get it that wrong is wrong. And just watching what he did to young people, like, you supposed, I don't know you don't cuss, and I don't know you don't cuss, but you're a grown ass man. You're not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, to get a little personal on my end, like, I felt like the school district kind of dropped the ball on. And one of the things that I'm talking to a lot of schools right now is that you got to be careful what you promote. Because if you're promoting, yes, we support you and we're behind you, but then when these incidents show up, you don't show up. That you're contradicting what you are promoting, what your mission statement is, and all the stuff that's going on. So that particular moment kind of opened. I mean, it kind of just, it exposed a lot of people. It exposed a lot of people in a lot of different ways. But the question I have for you, Dr. Iglesias, is where do we go from here? Like, what is the next step? Like, we marched already, all right? We got the world's attention. We got all those things, and people were out there for the moment chanting all these things. And now the dust kind of settled a little bit. And people are kind of going back into their routine. Where do we go from here?
And that was the big thing for me. You said, where do we go from here? And I'm like, okay, you can do 20 marches, but what are you doing with that march? What are you changing? What are you implementing? I can show my face every day out there, but that's not doing anything. I want to do something. Mm-hmm. I want to make a change. How do I make that change? So for me, through this whole year, I've been sitting on my project.
Let's get to it. Perfect. So,
and that is called Project Bridge. And it's bridging racial inequalities, doing groundwork, educating our people. In my 15 years of working for DIFUS, I have worked with at-risk families, most African-American Latinos, in Cumberland County. I've worked really Burlington all the way down south. And what I've seen is cycles being repeated from what they learned from their parents, from the grandparents, the great-grandparents. What I've seen was that the access to services is difficult. They don't have the funding. They don't have the money. I see a lot of crime. I see we're killing ourselves. And for me, I'm like, what can I do to help our people? What do we need to advance? What do we need to succeed? What do we need to be empowered? And I sat and I pondered. I'm like, what is it? What is it? So then I'm like, you know what? What I've seen is that people know who's running. They know Biden. They know Trump's name, but do they really know what they're about? Do they really know what they stand for? Do they really know how to go and register to vote? Do they really know how to buy a house? Do they know how to save money? Do they know about credit scores? Do they know about where do I go for a GED or how do I pass that test? But not only not knowing these things, being able to identify with the instructor that is teaching these things to these people. We as minorities, we want to see somebody who is like us, that we can identify with, that we can talk to, that I may come in there for education, or I may come in there to learn about my credit score, but I also may say, you know what, man, I'm really having a bad day. We need that. We need to rewire our minds. We need to let go of some of the old things that have been taught to us that may not be right. They just may not be right. That's not the right way to do it. Or you were taught wrong. There's a better way. And it may not be wrong. It just may be there's a better way to do that. It may take time. And most of these things is time and money. So we need encouragement, empowerment. We need all these things. So in the process of me think of all these, and I'm like, oh, well, I need to build an app. I need to build an application that's free, where I have educators like yourself, educators that have a lot of friends that are either in education, that do politics, that are in all these fields, that would be willing to teach these people. Just getting on an app and teach them live seminars where they can actually earn a certificate. So this is not like a YouTube channel where you go on YouTube and you learn it and that's it. No, this is actually a channel where you go on and you actually earn a certificate in that area. And you can take that certificate and say, hey, when I apply for a job, I took this, this, and this. So it looks good on the resume. So you have something backing you. Because at the end of the day, we all know that minorities, their resume are looked at a little different than our white counterpart. We all know that. Yours might be passed by, but this one, they're not going to tell us that. We know that happens.
So you have a launch date for the app? Are we in the process of development? Where are we in terms of?
So right now, I'm actually trying to raise funds. I have a Kickstarter campaign going on. It's a lot of money because building the app itself is about $50,000 to $60,000 to actually just build the app.
Kareem got that in his back pocket. You good?
And you know, I say this all the time. I need help. This is something I need help in. I can have the vision for it, but I don't have the IT. I don't know how to do coding. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. And I also need help with instructors. So this is not really about me. It's about just the vision. And I'm looking for team members. I'm looking for investors. I'm looking for somebody who's ready to rock and roll with me to say, you know what? I want to create change too. I'm on board. I want to do something for our people. I want to make movement. I want us to move and succeed. I'm tired of us being the second one, being vice president. Let's be president, not just of the United States, president of all the companies. There's too many of us who are educated and who do have the qualifications, but are not there. That are not there.
So how can I
feel as though that we as educated people need to help our other counterparts that may not have the ability to access the things that we can or maneuver and assimilate the way that we can. Because at the end of the day, we maneuver around people, places, and things, and all we do. And I've been told, you sound so white. I'm saying, listen, I will sound white, Chinese, Black, Puerto Rican, whatever I need to do. Whatever I need to do. You need to learn how to maneuver things. And sometimes our people are stuck in one way. They only see it one way. They're tunnel vision. We need to expand that.
How can people get in contact with you that want to help?
They can either email me or they can actually go on the Kickstarter campaign. Right on Kickstarter, it's actually Project Bridge. And my email is stephanie.tastefulart@gmail.com. You can also reach me on Facebook under my name, Stephanie Iglesias.
Awesome. We'll have that information posted at the end of this podcast on the slide, so you make sure you can get that information to help out if you so inclined to. But we're going to switch. Actually, Kareem, you got any questions or anything that you want to add before I switch gears a little bit and wrap this up?
No, I think that the good doctor is absolutely correct. I mean, we are conditioned into a certain mindset, and we haven't been able to adjust and adapt to the times. And we have pretty much have passed that down from generation to generation to where as though it's become almost a generational curse almost, not to be able to take those blinders off and see the world for what it really is and not for what it's pretending to be. Limited access and limited resources definitely has kept us as being the minority when in reality we should be considered the majority.
Mm-hmm. And most likely we are the majority, but it doesn't seem that way.
I think it's important for people to know, especially minorities, to understand that you don't have to lose the sense of who you are as an individual in order to be able to maneuver in these spaces. Every room I walk into, I walk in as myself. Like, this is who I am, regardless if it's a CEO of a company I'm having a conversation with, or somebody that's on the corner or Black. This is who I am. So you don't necessarily have to. The game is not losing the sense of yourself. The game is learning. It's chess, really. At the end of the day, it's learning, thinking 2 steps ahead, and how to maneuver in those different spaces. The language changes. That's really the biggest thing. The game still stays the same. You're still playing chess, whether you're playing chess on the block or in the corporate room. You're playing chess. The language is just a little bit different at the end.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Iglesias, thank you so much for that information. We're going to definitely push that out, and hopefully we get some people to support it. If not for anything, educators out there, anybody listening, have these difficult conversations and learn to be uncomfortable having these conversations, because it's uncomfortable feeling the way that people feel every single day that they walk outside of their house. And even from like Dr. Igelasias said, coming from a mother's perspective, not knowing whether her kids are going to come home at night because of certain things. So have those conversations at the very least, and get involved. You know, like I said earlier, it's good to march. It's good to go rah rah and cheer. But if you ain't out here putting in the work, then you know, what are you really complaining about at the end of the day? So we're gonna switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
We like to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to lean on Kareem for this one to go back to the original question, because you wasn't on in the beginning, and I don't even know if we. I'll put it out there anyway. She is recently engaged, so congratulations on that. So this is a perfect segue for you, Kareem, to go in on whether she's petty or not. I already know the answer, I think.
Whether what?
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess we're trying to. I've always been on a mission to be able to have people embrace their pettiness, and being as though that you're newly engaged, I guess the best way to gauge your level of pettiness is on how much you're going to spend on his ring.
Oh, I have.
Are you going to spend equal, more, or less on his ring than what your ring is going to cost?
I honestly, I haven't even thought about it.
Yeah, we're looking for honesty, because you've been trying to keep it real the whole time. So yeah, we're looking for honesty. You've been keeping it real. So go ahead. What you got?
I haven't even thought about the ring. So
what do you mean you haven't thought about the ring?
I
All the Jared commercials that came on, you haven't thought not once? Like maybe
no,
I think of Jared.
I honestly have not thought about his ring.
That's petty. Okay. The simple fact that you didn't even think about his ring is petty. That's petty.
No, seriously.
No, not me. So she's trying to get off the hook. So now we're on the topic of ring buying. How much are you willing to spend? 5G?
For me,
10G?
it's really. Wait a minute.
20G?
I don't have an amount though, because for me, it's not about the amount. It's about the thought, and it's about.
But you didn't think about his ring though.
Yeah. So she's making stuff up. She's making stuff up now.
I'm not making stuff up. I'm not making anything up. So yeah, I just think it's not really about the price.
It is about price. How much are you willing to spend?
I don't know. I have no idea.
See, now you're not. Now you're a doctor. That is not a word that you can use anymore, because you do know.
I can use it. No,
No.
I honestly have not given thought to a price range for a ring.
Okay, so would you spend $5,000 on his ring?
I would if I like it, and if I thought he liked it.
$10,000.
Yeah, why not?
$20,000.
Huh?
Yeah, $20,000.
20
$20,000.
Hell no. And let me tell you why. Let me
I'm
tell
listening.
you why I wouldn't do 20 grand. A ring, this, like even this, don't mean anything. All it is goes along with a piece of paper. What's more important is the relationship I have with him. So the price of the price tag of a ring, really, it could have been, he could have made the ring for me. I'd have been cool.
Really? Did you tell him that? Like, you can take it back. You can take it back.
Through what I've been through in my lifetime, it ain't about money. It ain't about money or how much something costs. None of that.
Now you do know this is going to be on YouTube. So when he watches it, he's going to say, "I'm coming to get the ring. I'm going to take it back. I'm going to go do something else about some crypto with the ring."
He can if he wants to.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Interesting. Well, let me ask you this: Can I buy the ring for $100 so I can take it to the pawn shop and buy me some crypto?
I don't know. He might take it to the pawn shop. He likes going to pawn shops. He likes going to them places.
So she's petty.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's petty, Miso.
All right, the jury's out. It has been decided that you are officially petty.
Yeah, she passed the test.
Congratulations.
She said 20 grand. Once she said, no, I ain't spending 20 grand because money's not an option. Yeah, she's petty.
That's
Sorry.
it. It's all right. All right. So before we get out of here, thank you again. Any last words for our listeners, Dr. Igelasias?
Just if anybody has interest in Project Bridge, reach out to me, contact me, email me, check out the Kickstarter campaign. It actually has everything on there, exactly what I'm trying to do, what it's going to look like, and who it's going to benefit. It has all the objectives. It has the financials in there, exactly why I'm requesting that much money. I just need to get it started. I don't want to talk the talk anymore. I want to walk the walk. So if anybody wants to walk the walk, come on. And I'm looking for investors and people to, team up with.
Talk to Mr. Petty. He got the butter soft black leather seats in the back. Way back. In the back.
Listen, all I know is Dogecoin is up. I told you months ago. Get yourself some crypto.
I got in that too.
I hopped on. I ain't gonna front. I got a little something.
Yeah, they said it's gonna go up this weekend too. So and then to watch it after that, it may go back down.
That's awesome. So all you people out there, again, please support if you can. Again, just have those conversations. If not anything else, have those conversations with people. Just talk to people and kind of figure out people, right? Like just learn about different cultures, learn about individuals, and just you find yourself in a better place. I mean, at the end of the day, we had previous podcast on radical empathy. I really think it is about being empathetic to people in their situations and understanding that people's lives are a little bit different than yours. In some cases, a lot bit different than yours, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong. So make sure you obviously embrace that empathy and also embrace your pettiness as well. So you do that. So until next time, people, stay proud.